The European Union's share of the world's GDP was 30% in 1980 in terms of purchasing power. It was 15% in 2019. It is expected that the share will drop below 10% by 2050. In 1960, 1/5 of the people resided in Europe. In 2010, that ratio became 1/10. In 2050, around 7% of the people will live in Europe. China's GDP is catching up to the EU's total GDP now. In the 2030s, India will surpass the EU. In the 2040s, Indonesia will be the next competitor. And in the 2050s, Nigeria will be able to exceed the EU's GDP. Has the race already been lost for the EU? The European Union. For decades, it stood as a beacon of prosperity, innovation, and democratic values. From the ashes of war, a continent rose, building an economic powerhouse that boasted a staggering 30% of the world's GDP in 1980 in purchasing power terms. Europe was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, the heart of global empires, and home to groundbreaking advancements in science, art, and philosophy. 1 in 5 people on Earth called Europe home in 1960. It was, without a doubt, the center of gravity for much of the developed world. But that gravitational pull is weakening. Rapidly. The numbers don't lie. By 2019, the EU's share of global GDP had halved to just 15%. Projections suggest it could dip below 10% by 2050. Demographically, the shift is just as stark. By 2010, only 1 in 10 people lived in Europe, and by 2050, that figure is expected to be a mere 7%. The once unthinkable has happened. China's economy is now larger than the entire EU. India is on track to surpass us in the 2030s, followed by Indonesia in the 2040s, and even Nigeria by the 2050s. Has the race already been lost for the EU? Are we witnessing the irreversible decline of a once glorious continent? Europe isn't sitting idly by as these trends unfold. Leaders and policymakers are acutely aware of the challenges, and various solutions have been and are being applied. On the economic front, a major focus has been boosting productivity. This includes significant investments in research and development, fostering innovation hubs, and digitizing industries. The goal is to move up the value chain, focusing on high-tech manufacturing, advanced services, and green technologies where Europe can still compete globally. Efforts are also made to streamline regulations and encourage entrepreneurship to foster a more dynamic business environment. However, the demographic picture presents an even more entrenched challenge. Many European nations have implemented birth incentives, ranging from generous parental leave schemes and subsidized childcare to direct financial payments for new parents. The aim is to encourage higher birth rates and support families. Nonetheless, with a 1.41 fertility rate, Europe is by far the least reproductive continent. Additionally, immigration is seen as a necessary component to offset declining native populations and address labor shortages. However, integrating new populations effectively remains a significant social and political challenge across the bloc. Also, brain drain is not only developing countries now. European talents go abroad too. But are these efforts enough? Some radical solutions have been proposed. For instance, critics argue that Europe's relatively low average working hours compared to booming Asian economies might be a limiting factor. While work-life balance is highly valued, could a slight adjustment help bridge the productivity gap? I know it is difficult to accept more working hours, but Europe has one of the lowest Gini coefficients around the world. Europeans work more for themselves than their bosses, at least relatively to the other parts of the world. Another fascinating, albeit controversial, idea is Demony voting, where citizens might get more votes based on the number of children they have, in an attempt to incentivize family growth and shift political priorities towards the long-term future. These are complex ideas, often fraught with ethical and practical considerations, but they reflect the depth of the challenge. However, they should be considered as practical suggestions rather than ideal solutions. When the burden of the crisis disappears, they can be reversed. Yet, despite the headwinds, Europe still holds conjunctural advantages. Its strong commitment to renewables positions it well for the green economy transition. Although this policy is increasing energy spending in Europe for now, in a fossil fuelless future, renewable head start can give an advantage to European countries. European engineering prowess, strong legal frameworks, and a highly educated workforce remain significant assets. The question is, can these strengths be leveraged effectively and swiftly enough to reverse, or at least slow, the current trajectory? The story of Europe's future isn't written yet. While the statistics present a daunting picture of decline, the continent possesses immense resilience, innovation, and a commitment to its values. The coming decades will determine whether Europe can adapt, innovate, and reclaim its global standing, or if it will indeed become a fading star in an increasingly multipolar world.